Alrighty, guys. So, today we are going to talk about a couple things. I mean, we already did our first workshop as of recording this, but we're going to go ahead and do our second one. So, today we are going to talk about our, we're going to talk about our GitHub source control. That's what we're going to talk about today. Sorry, my brain is still a little foggy from I'm getting over COVID and it's Christmas and I've done a lot of stuff today, so just so many things. But anyway, so excuse me. So yeah, we're gonna talk about GitHub today. So GitHub is very, very important if you're even if you're not a programmer, even if you're like a scientific researcher or you are like in web design, but not like the coding side of web design, but maybe like more the artsy kind of web design. It's still really important to know GitHub and especially, but very specific, especially if you're a STEM professional. Like, even if you just write things in MATLAB, you can still post things in GitHub that are MATLAB related. So, don't ever think that GitHub is all just about a bunch of neckbeard programmers who just publish their freaking Google alternatives on GitHub. There's a lot of stuff. And there's no like don't be afraid to just like make a repository and post whatever scripts you want. Because I mean, I guess I shouldn't encourage people to just shovel a bunch of crap onto the site cuz I don't want to like make it get oversaturated with some bad stuff, but don't ever feel like we're trying to gatekeep you from GitHub, and if anyone ever says that, they're just a piece of garbage. Don't even listen to it. So, I post all dumb stuff all the time. Like, look at this. I made a script that checks for the like oh, sorry, I was looking at this one. It checks for palindromes, and then I made a one that it just like looks at all the Pythagorean triplets with from 1 to 500. And by the way, this is a very inefficient script. It does like a double for loop, and its big O notation is like n squared or whatever that. It's like it's not very efficient. But, it was like one of my first scripts that I wrote really like as a proof of concept for math, so I don't know, I keep it on here. Some of the stuff is like mostly just sentimental. Like meme poster is not even active anymore. This is my first coding project. This was the palindrome checker that I literally made in like 30 minutes. Which is decent. It just converts whatever to a string and then reverses it and checks that equals itself. It's very simple to write. It's basically a FizzBuzz question. And I've done some leak code and stuff on here too that I've posted, I think. But yeah. So anyway, GitHub is really important because GitHub is kind of like it's like your portfolio as a programmer. And not even just as a programmer. Like I said, if you're in science, you can use GitHub to like post some of the findings that you've done for your research. Not necessarily like your entire like research paper. I mean, you could do that. People would be happy to read it on GitHub. Definitely, it would be an it would be an option. But like you could post your like R language script that you wrote to process your data or something. Like let's say maybe in your PhD thesis you found some kind of cool like algorithm that helps you process your data for people in your industry, in your field, or in your niche or whatever you're in, and you want to share that, that would be a great place. So don't ever like think that GitHub is not useful, and it is. So anyway, we're just gonna move on from this topic because I don't want to sit here and ramble on about the importance of it, but it is a very important thing to have. So let's talk about what is GitHub and how do you use it. So basically, let's just I'm gonna go ahead and we're just gonna go to GitHub.com. So we're not gonna go to my profile. We're just gonna go to GitHub.com. So when you go to github.com, as if you're logged in, and if you're not, we can sign out and we can go to github.com. When you go to github.com, you can go ahead and click on sign up. You don't need the free enterprise trial for like literally the only time you would need this is if you're at a company or like a startup company or something and you want to set up this for your employees to use it or whatever. But if you're just using it for your own personal stuff, then just go ahead and sign up for GitHub. By the way, GitHub has the prettiest sign up I have ever seen in any website ever. Like, look at this. Even just this is freaking awesome. This is so cool. And like when you actually go to sign up, it's really cool. Like it's just do it. I promise you, you won't regret it. Even if you don't even even if you're like, I'm not even a programmer. First of all, I don't know why you're watching this, but second of all, it's like sign up anyway, just to see what the experience is like. It's pretty cool. I wish more websites did cool stuff like this. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign in because I am a member and I don't want to make a duplicate account for no reason. Um, so let's talk about GitHub. So GitHub is like, I guess I should answer what is GitHub other than just a place to just shove all your Python or programming scripts in general. Um, GitHub is not only, it's, think of it like a Google Drive or like a OneDrive for all of your programming scripts that you put up on there. But not only that, it actually allows you to revert to older versions of your script, and it allows other people to modify your script and make their own branch of your script. So think of it like a timeline if you're more of a visual person, or maybe like a tree. If you like, let's say you post a program to GitHub, like a a bunch of scripts or something in Python, like a bunch of Python scripts, I could read your code and I could say, there's a typo there. I can then fork it, F-O-R-K. I could fork it and make my own branch of it where I fix the typo. And now in that sort of like alternative timeline, if you want to think about like time travel kind of analogies, in that alternative timeline, that alternative branch of reality, it is fixed. Now, after fixing that, I can make what is called a pull request, which is what you see up here where it says pull request. I can make what's called a pull request, and I can ask the creator or whoever maintains that main branch to merge my fixed version into their main version. And now those branches, assuming they say yes and do it, now those branches are now fully merged back together. And when they are merged back together, now it takes the changes from whatever was different on the other version and kind of merges them in a way that doesn't conflict with each other. And now the main branch or master branch, whatever you want to call it, is now correct as far as that typo goes. So that's basically how source control works. Now, even better than that, you can also revert changes as well. So let's say you make a really bad breaking bug that you accidentally created. You can actually revert changes as well. So let's go ahead and talk about some of this stuff. So this is my NatureBot script. Now, one thing I want you to pay attention to is when you're on GitHub, you can actually click to copy the link if you ever want to do a git clone, but there's also the download zip. So if you ever just want to download all the code, you can just click here and click download zip, and it'll go ahead and download that. It's going to download whatever branch you're on. There's only one branch of my script right now, and it's the main branch anyway. But so anyway, let's go ahead and extract this. I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like real quick. So let's just go ahead and extract. Make a folder for it. And then if we look at the folder, now we can see it has all the files, and it shows it like it does here. It has all the files, and I can go in, I can look at it. And this is really just good if you need to work on it offline or something, but it's not like, maybe you're like, if this is, for example, like if this is a video game, like a Py game or something, like a Py game script that's like a Python video game that someone made, you could download it and click on it, like double click here or something, whatever the script is, and you can run it, and woohoo, now you're playing it on your own local computer. So that would be a way like you could download it. But another thing I want to direct your attention to is right here. It says this is the last update that I've made to the script. So this is the last time I've ever pushed anything to the script. It was last updated yesterday, and you could see that if you went to like somewhere where you could see this, you could see updated yesterday, like it says it right there. So the other thing I want to point your attention to is where it says 114 commits, and this is really just like, I think this is my overall commits, or it's like recently, I can't remember which. But anyway, if you click here, you can actually look at all my past, it's kind of like patch notes. Like if you've ever played like a video game and you'll see like where they've updated changes to the game and you're kind of reading through it. That's basically what this is. So I can go in here and I can look at what the change was, and it'll actually show me what specifically was changed. Now this looks a little confusing if you've never seen this before, but this was the old version of the script, the side in red. If you're colorblind, it's the left side, and this is the new version of the script. Now again, these are actually kind of subtle changes. All I actually did here was I changed it from being a multi-line comment string to, or not a comment, a multi-line string to being a single line string, but separated by new line characters. Which I'm not going to get into the details of that because that's kind of irrelevant for what we're talking about. But that's all I did in this change. It was a very small change. And I said reverting my silly f string changes because this actually it was like this originally, and then I was like, let's just make it all like a single line string, and then it kind of messed with the indentation. It looked really dumb, and so I was like, yeah, we'll just revert it back basically. But instead of actually reverting it, because I had made other changes too, I really just like redid it. So I was like, whatever. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna revert the change and then go back and do all that. I'm just gonna because it's only I literally changed like 4 lines of code total, so it's like I'll just retype it. It's whatever. So anyway, so that's the subject line of the change, and this is my description. So I said these. Whoops, I made a typo. I should have said surface, not service. Must have been typing too fast and not thinking clearly. But I said these changes look good on the surface, sort of, but they ended up creating formatting problems that there is no good looking solution to, except ironically the one I had before, lol. And I write funny things in my commit messages sometimes, but I like to have fun with it. This is my own personal project and I don't really care, I mean, I do try to make it professional for other people to work on, but I like to have fun with it. It's okay. So, but anyway, what I did want to show you though, other than just seeing my changes, you can actually go here and you can actually look at let's say, for example, let's pick just some random one here. So let's go here. Watch this. I can click this button up here called Browse Files, and now I'm actually looking at what the whole code used to look like at this moment in time. It's like loading it as if I loaded it from this point in time, like a time machine. So I can go back, and this is really helpful, by the way, if you made some really big change. Let's say, for example, that this was a really big change, and this was where my let's say this was where my script was way different. And actually, I do have an example of that. I implemented OOP for well, actually started it here. So this and these are way different looking scripts. So look at this. I will show you, and I'll just do this in a new tab so you can see it. By the way, tree style tabs are awesome. You guys should use them. So browsing files. So now notice you can ignore the test things here, but I had a database script, and these are my 2 nature poster scripts right here. These are the 2 main ones, and then I had a database script. Now look at this. Look at this. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to browse the files now. And look at this. I have so many different scripts here now. So I have text processing, I have image processing, I have the Facebook posting, I have the database, and I still have the 2 main ones, but they're much smaller now if you actually look into them. So I'll just show you. This is my nature poster photos, and this is my nature poster photos. In the old script, this script single-handedly was almost 360 lines of code. It's 359. Whereas in this one, it is only 141. This is a big change. So anyway, let's say, for example, that you had some really crazy thing where your latest commit was a huge change like this, all in one single commit, and you wanted to revert those changes, or maybe not revert them, but you just at least need to see something that was in your previous commit, because it was maybe let's say I tried to copy this function over into my new version of whatever I'm refactoring, and now the new version doesn't work. I can compare it with the working old version and say, oh, it's just because I don't have a quote here on this, so it's an incomplete list and it's freaking out on me. Oh, that's so easy. I'll just compare the 2 and match it up, and now it works again, right? So GitHub provides a way for you to kind of go back in time to do this. Now, actually, PyCharm actually has a similar feature in a local scenario, but if you ever change the file, or if you have to re-download your script and then start working from the new downloaded version, or if you ever wipe your computer and have to re-download your script from GitHub or something, it's not going to show all the local history. So that is one good perk about having it to the cloud, quote unquote, I guess, is that you can actually track all these changes, and that's great. So anyway, so GitHub allows you to not only post different scripts that you've made, but also it allows you to check the local history, or not the local history, but the cloud history of all of them. and just really great things. And I want to show you a pull request example because we talked about before that you can make a change to someone else's script and you can make a branch version where it's your branch and your branch is maybe better or worse depending on the changes that you made. Maybe it's subjective. So here's an example of this. Here's a Pexels API script. So this is what the branch looks like. You'll see it says forked from, and this is the original branch right here. So this is my version of it, and this is the original version of it. So basically, we can ignore this part for now, but basically this is my version of it, and I'm going to go ahead and open this in a new tab so that you can see the master branch here. So this is like the main branch here. So notice it's not going to look different on the very first, but if we go into tools, you'll see something. If I go into tools here, Pexels API and tools, I have a video script. Basically, my change to this branch was this API wrapper that this guy made. He's a really awesome guy, really helpful dude. He made this script so that you could basically like reference the Pexels API and a Python package right here into you can reference the Pexels API within your Python script and you can call functions in it. But he didn't have any support for videos, and Pexels API does support videos, but his version, his like Python script that he made to call Pexels API doesn't support videos, so I had to rewrite that, and I even had to make changes to his API script as well to include a search video method instead of just the search photo method. So now there's that as well. So I really didn't change it that much, but I did make a change. So then I basically branched it, and the way you do that is you go to, I'll show you actually. So let's say I want to make a branch of Nature Poster. So let's say I'm someone else, or I can make another branch just for myself. Let's say I want to let's say Nature Poster has like a different version. Like let's say there's a new feature I want to implement. For example, I implemented videos recently into Nature Poster. But let's say I want to make a different branch of the Python script so that I want one branch to just be the photos, and I want the other branch to be the photos and the video implementation, because that's a pretty big change, and I want to have both. Like maybe I want to have two versions of the software, right? So in order to do that, all we have to do, I'm going to move this back here. All we have to do is click on this thing that says main or master or whatever the person named their little label for this, but it'd be this icon up here. All we have to do is we just have to click here, and then we just type in, and we're going to call this second branch. Okay? And now it'll give you the option to create it because it doesn't show up. So now we're actually working in the second branch. So now any change that we made in the second branch is different from the main branch or the master branch or whatever. But we're still working on a version of the branch, like a version of the script. Like this is still all the same files and all the same code, but any change we make to this will be different from the main branch. This is a really good way. Like I want to really stress this because this is a really good way to implement your coding in a way that's like you can like, okay, let me give you an example real quick. I'll just give you a real quick example. Let's say I want to implement videos, okay? In this example, let's say the second branch represents me trying to implement videos into my software. I could make a branch, implement videos, and then when I am satisfied and it matches the main like functionality of the main branch with the videos, I can just merge the two branches together, and now this branch that has videos now just becomes the main branch anyway, right? Or it becomes like merged with it. Like there's certain things that get carried over, and you know there's conflictions to think about, but you know it's not like it overwrites it necessarily, but it brings it into it. It like merges it into itself, right? So that's a good example of why people would use branches and things like that, and it's commonly used in development for purposes like that. I've also seen it. Oh, goodness. Sorry, guys. I have also seen it in a professional setting where people use branches to use it for, like, maybe they'll make, like, a testing purpose, or they'll have different coding teams, and some teams will work on implementing different features. Like, say, for example, you have a software that caters to different kinds of customers. So you have different versions of your software. And I'm not just talking about like a free version and a pro version and a premium version. But let's say you have this one really difficult customer, but they pay you really, really well. And they're kind of like sort of taking advantage of you, kind of, but they really want you to implement a specific feature. But you don't think the feature would really match in the whole software as a whole. But you still go ahead and implement that feature. You could use another branch to, like, you could basically use that other, like, you could create another branch for that customer or those subset of customers that want that little feature to add that feature in as like a beta testing, and then you could add it into the software and kind of work it from there. But that would be another version. Like, branches are just meant to diverge from the main or master branch. So you would make a branch when you want to take the code in a different direction, basically. And maybe the end goal is to eventually meet back up with the main branch, but it doesn't have to be. That's the whole point of branching and pull requests and things like that, is that well, the whole point of a pull request is to bring your changes back into the master branch or the main branch. But that's the whole point of branching, is to make your code diverge from the original code in some like significant way. So anyway, that's a quick explanation, sort of quick-ish explanation of what branching is and why it's important. So okay, let's say, for example, that I really like this second branch that I made. I didn't actually change anything, but let's say that I did. Let's say it's something simple, like I just found a typo in my like README here. Okay, so I just go ahead and edit this and I change it or whatever, and then now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and merge this. So now what we do is we go over here to pull requests while on our second branch or whatever. It doesn't technically matter where you can be in the main branch or the second branch or whatever. But you go into pull requests and you say new pull request. And I'm going to do this from the main branch just so it's a little clearer what's happening specifically. So notice it said that we are in the main branch when I went here. So we're going to go to the pull request. And this is the base. So this is what we're going to be merging into. And we are going to say that we want to compare to the second branch. So this arrow means that the second branch is going to be merged into the main branch. Okay, now there's no changes here, so let's just go ahead and actually make a change real quick so that there's something to merge into this. So let's just, I don't know, let's just add another dot for the sake of, I don't know, actually, you know what, let's just make it something simple. Let's just add another dash. Nobody will notice that. So if we add another dash, let's go ahead and commit those changes. And, oh, we committed it to the main branch. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Let's go to the second branch then. So, I mean, I guess that works, technically. So, now, let's go into the main branch. Because all that matters is that they're different from each other. So, let's go into the main branch. Let's create a pull request. Let's say new pull request. And I want to compare it to the second branch. Now, I didn't have to click that. You can also just click compare across forks, and that will let you do this. So don't think that you could just click down here. If this isn't an option, it's not a quick, easy thing. You can click compare across forks, and that will get you to this. So this is your base branch. This is the main branch. This is the branch we're comparing against. So, now it's going to say there's nothing to change or whatever. So I think it's just because we didn't sync the changes. Hang on one second, guys. Let me go to the second branch. It's one commit behind. It says it's a commit behind. Oh, yeah, okay. So if we go to the, here, we can say, okay, it's able to merge, and then, So this is saying, create a pull request specifically to merge them into each other. Now, this is what was changed. So I say I added another hyphen into the README section. You want to say what you changed, which isn't the most important part. The most important part also of what you want to say is why you changed it. Because, anyone can see that, oh, it's just another dash there. Like you saw in the last, right here, it's like, oh, just literally one more dash in this line, whatever, But it's then you could just say for aesthetic purposes or something. But you want to be at least descriptive as to why you're changing it. But yeah, this is a really dumb example, but this is just showing you how it works. So you can go ahead and say create pull request, and it's going to check to make sure it's okay. And now this is saying, like, I am actually the creator of these branches, so I can go ahead and merge it. This is what they would see, but let's say I did this to someone else's code. This is what they would see, and so you can just say, okay, confirmed, and I say this is the commit message, and oh well, I clicked it too fast, but it was the commit message, which we can go there and see it, but yeah. So anyway, so it's as simple as that. So that's how it works for people. So now, if we go back to our script here, let's just go all the way back and let's go back in. So now, if you look at this, whoops, hang on, guys. So now, if you look at this, it will have the changed hyphen and all that, and the branches should be the same now. So let's go ahead and go into our second branch here. And it had one recent pushes. Yep. It's one commit ahead of main because we did a pull request, right? But now, if you were to compare these, they would have the same info. So remember, a pull request doesn't fully merge the branches together, but it will merge the changes of one branch to another. I just want to make that clarification. So that's how you would use the branching system in GitHub. Okay, the final thing I want to talk about real quick, and then we can talk about more of this stuff like later on in the notes or whatever, but the final thing I want to really get to is GitHub Desktop. This is really important, so please definitely check this part out. So GitHub Desktop is GitHub's downloaded desktop app that you would download and install that basically allows you to review any code that you have in your repositories that you're working on, any pull requests. Like, this is the Pexels API. This is my version of that guy's code. So this isn't my actual repository, but it is my repository in the sense that this is my branch of it. So I can go in and I can change those branches. So basically, in the way GitHub Desktop works, I'm going to close this for a second. The way GitHub Desktop works is you download GitHub Desktop, and then you go here and you try to search. If you're downloading it for the first time, you probably won't have anything in here. But you would try to search, like, let's say I just want to get Nature Poster. So I search Nature Poster. And what would happen is this wouldn't show up if I did this for the first time. And then I would click Add. And then I would click Clone Repository. And it's going to look now. This is all my repositories that I have. So now let's say I want to clone Nature Poster. And it's going to give me an error because I've already cloned it. But now you would just click on that. And then you would click where you want to put the files on your computer because you're basically downloading everything in that repository. So where are you going to put that on your computer? And this is where it is for me. And then you just click clone. And then you're going to get taken to a screen like this. Basically, once you click on this, and then it's like, okay, I have Nature Poster now. So you go ahead and click on this, and now you click on this, and it's going to do this. Now, so this page is right here. This tells you what branch you're on, so I can go to the second branch if I want. I can go to the main branch. Now, this is just going to show you, like I'll show you, for example, the Pexels API. We are currently on this branch, but I can go to other branches if I want. But that's how you navigate the branches in that regard. This button right here will refresh if anyone makes any changes. It'll see, like, okay, is there any changes? And then you just go ahead and refresh. And now if we refresh, there isn't any changes because they've already been merged. So there's no changes really because it's already been committed and merged and all that. So here, you can click to open it in your IDE or in your editor, in which case my default one is PyCharm, but you can change this in the options right here. You can go to your options. It even tells you can change it in your options. And I can make this VS Code or Emacs or Vim or whatever people code in these days, you know. But I use PyCharm, and I also sometimes open it in VS Code too if I want. So PyCharm is my primary though. So I can click to open it in PyCharm. What's going to happen is if I click this, it's going to open up PyCharm, and it might open like a specific script. It'll usually open like whatever your scripts you had open on your tabs the last time you had it open, but it will, more importantly, it'll open the project where I can go ahead and open all these if I want to, basically. So the other thing is you can click to show an explorer, so you can show all your like files here that you downloaded, and maybe you can add your own files in here because it's just like a folder like any other thing on Windows. So you can download the thing, like clone it from GitHub, and then you can put any other files that you want in here. And this will show you those files when you click that. So it'll go ahead and open right to this directory, which is very helpful. Especially if you need to run any of these, you can just click up here in Windows. You can say CMD, and then you can say Python, and then, I don't know, database.py, and then you could click enter, and then it would run that. And that's a really quick, easy way to get to that if you don't want to run it through PyCharm, if you want to run it through your shell there. And then the other thing it says is you can open the repository in your browser. So let's say I just want to edit the README file and I don't feel like clicking here and editing it in here. I can just click to here. I can go view it, and then I can go scroll here and edit, and then boom, I'm here. So it's like, it's a really, and maybe not even for that purpose, but it's just a really quick way to get you into your the website. Or like if let's say you're working on something and someone's like, oh, can I see the repository? That's cool. And you're like, yeah, I just, click here, and then there you go, and just copy and then send it over or whatever. It's just a really quick, easy thing to do. So it's a really handy app. So given that example, let's say I do make a change. For example, let's say I open the README and I want to add one more hyphen here. So now if I add a hyphen here, this was the only thing I changed, so just to make this more clear, I didn't touch any of these other scripts. I just changed the README file. So notice it has a little thing here saying, yep, you've made a change. It says you've changed something here. So if I click save, I'm going to save it on my computer. I'm going to exit out of PyCharm. I don't have to do this, but I'm going to just make it clear to you. Like, let's say I'm done for the day. You can ignore the idea files or whatever. But this is where it's saying, like, this is what it was before. This is the change you made. Do you want to go ahead and commit those changes? And I'm going to say, yep, updating README file, adding a hyphen for instructional purposes on GitHub Desktop. Whoops. And then I'm going to go ahead and say, yep, commit that to the main branch. And now what it's going to say, after I've committed that, it's going to say, hey, you have a version of your GitHub branch here. Like, it's basically storing my GitHub stuff. It's going to say you have a version of your GitHub branch of this script that's different from what is on the website right now. So go ahead and push those to the origin. And this is really good. Like, you don't have to push your changes after you make them. You could make a bunch of commits and then push them all at once. But so let's just go ahead and do that though. So let's say go ahead and push origin here, and it's going to go ahead and do the little refresh. And now if I try to refresh here, you'll notice that there's no changes, because now what the hyphen change I just made is now actually in this here. So I mean, it's going to be hard to see because it's just, I just added a hyphen. But basically, if you were to look through and somehow count all these hyphens, of course you can't see it because it's just a new line character anyway, but if you were to somehow go in and count all the hyphens, there would be another one here now, and you can see it right here where I said updating README file. Let's go ahead and look at this. Oh, would you look at that? There it is right there. There's the commit, right? So that's the GitHub Desktop app. Very, very useful, very helpful to know, and just really great. So anyway, those two things, the conditionals from part 1 and the GitHub Desktop stuff from part 2, is the main things I wanted to talk about tonight. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to let me know. And otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful, happy holidays coming up, and Merry Christmas today and all that. And otherwise, I will see you guys later and see you guys in the next workshop, okay? All right. Bye.